Welcome to our virtual information session for Starwood Academy of Frisco. My name is Anita Hanks, and I have the privilege of serving as head of school. I'm excited to be joined today by Ms. Walker, who is our assistant head of school. Just to give you a little bit of background about ourselves, my Montessori journey began when I was 2 years old in a Montessori classroom. My mother is a Montessori guide and a recently retired head of school. I went on to complete a bachelor's in business administration at Southern Methodist University in Dallas and a master's in early childhood education at Texas Women's University. I'm also Montessori credentialed through the American Montessori Society at the early childhood and administrator levels, and also serve on the National Board of Directors for the AMS. I'm also the proud Montessori parent of 3 children that started in a Montessori classroom when they were 15 months old. Now Ms. Walker is going to share a little bit about herself.
I started my journey in Montessori through my husband. He attended Montessori from primary all the way through middle school. And when we had gotten together, I had already started my background in daycares and schools in the more conventional setting. And he continued to work on me a little bit and say, "You're really going to like Montessori." And so I went ahead and decided to try it out and became an early childhood assistant in a classroom. And I did. I ended up falling in love with the philosophy and the method of Montessori. I went on to take my early childhood training and was in the classroom for 15 years. From there, I went on to take my administrator's course and have now been doing Montessori for over 20 years. While my passion for Montessori grew, so did my family. I have 5 children that attended Montessori. I'm also the program coordinator and instructor for North Texas Montessori Institute, which is an AMS nationally accredited teacher training program that we have here on site at Starwood Academy. We're excited to share a little bit more with you today about our programs.
A little bit of history about our school. So our first campus opened in September of 2000, and our oldest students were in the lower elementary program. And when they were set to graduate, the families did not want to leave. And so we expanded into our upper elementary program. And then the same thing happened again when those students were set to graduate, and we expanded into middle school. When we got to our middle school program, we realized we had a need for a second location. And so we expanded just a few minutes down Lebanon Road to Starwood Academy of Frisco. And then we began a campus integration where we slowly began to move all of our students over to the new campus until we had all of our students moved over in the year 2022. We're a mission-driven organization. And when I say that, what I mean is we're a very strong learning community composed of our students, their families, and an extremely dedicated team. We start at the age of 18 months and we go through the adolescent program at 15 years. It truly is a unique experience at Starwood Academy of Frisco. And we see that when we look at our graduates. Our graduates have completed this beautiful Montessori journey. And when they leave the program, they're global citizens, they're prepared achievers, inspired innovators, extremely joyful learners, and respectful collaborators. Montessori is a very different approach than most of us experienced in traditional education. So when you look in a traditional classroom, the teacher's at the front of the room teaching all the students the same thing at the same time. And then when the average student has mastered what is being taught, the class moves on to new curriculum or new subject matter. If you have a student that's learning at a fast pace, they're typically held back because they're waiting for the rest of the class. And if they need more time in a specific area, they don't necessarily get that time because the class is moving on. Very different in a Montessori environment. When you look in the classroom, you see the teacher, whom we refer to as the guide, working individually or in small groups with students, giving them lessons with hands-on materials based on where they are working academically in each subject area. The guide will rotate the room, observe the students, look for mastery, and then give new individual presentations. So this way, each student is truly working at their own ability level and at their own pace. We have mixed age grouping in a Montessori classroom. So our toddler program is ages 18 months through the age of 3. Primary, which includes the kindergarten year, is ages 3 to 6. Lower elementary is ages 6 to 9. Upper elementary is ages 9 to 12. And then the middle school or adolescent program is ages 12 to 15. Again, we're working with beautiful hands-on materials in the classroom. Students have the freedom to move around the classroom, to regulate themselves, to clean up their work when they complete a project or a work that they're working on. They're allowed to talk, they're allowed to collaborate. So it really does feed their love of learning and their quest for knowledge as they're operating in that Montessori environment. Again, a little bit more in our programs. It is a wide spectrum of ages when we look at those groupings, beginning at toddler and going all the way through the middle school program. Starwood Academy of Frisco provides a well-rounded education. And Ms. Walker is going to talk to us a little bit more about that as she looks at the different components of our program.
When we start with our curriculum and learning outcomes, in Montessori, we have the curricular areas, just as you would think about in that more traditional setting. You're going to see from primary all the way up through middle school, language and math, reading, writing, geometry, science, social study, all of those areas that you traditionally think of when you went to school. Those things are also happening in our classrooms. It just looks a little bit different in our classrooms because the approach and the philosophy behind it is different. All of our guides are trained in the understanding of the Texas state standards, and we have taken the Montessori curriculum and we've aligned it with those standards. We refer to the aligned standards here at Starwood Academy as learning outcomes. Montessori is different, and we do not limit the students within these grade levels, and they're able to work at their own pace through these different curricular areas. When you have a style of learning instead of grades, it really boosts the child's self-efficacy. When learning outcomes are used, children are able to compare where they are now and where they want to go. They learn how to set specific goals for themselves and what they would like to accomplish, and choosing different strategies and being able to get there. Along the way, they begin to assess themselves and make judgments to what they're doing in order to get to the goal that they created for themselves. Learning in this way really boosts their motivation to learn, and they see themselves as more confident and competent learners all the way around. There's another entity within the curricular areas of Montessori, which is called practical life. And this is everyday skill building activities that really help to focus on and support those executive functioning skills learned through the work. That is learning how to plan, learning how to problem solve, how to regulate themselves, how to boost their working memory, manage their time and organization, just to name a few. There's also field trips that are incorporated into our program as well, starting at primary all the way through middle school, which are really extensions of the classroom lessons and are oftentimes based around a lesson of something that they've been learning in the classroom. There's also field trips across the different levels to build those connections and relationships with others. When we're looking at supplemental classes, these are classes that are incorporated as part of their day. And so at the toddler environment, they have movement classes. Once they go on into primary, they have movement and Spanish. Once they get on into that elementary and middle school level, they have athletic development, art, drama, music, and Spanish as well. When we dive a little bit deeper into those assessments, Montessori guides spend a lot of time observing their students in the classroom. Those observations really help to support the teacher in setting up the classroom, how to determine what materials to offer the students or what lessons to offer the students, how the makeup of the classroom should also be set up so it better supports the students in the classroom. We also work at all the levels to assess the students, not necessarily in a grade as you might see in that more traditional setting. The assessments happen, we find, more often and regularly in a Montessori setting, and it takes place naturally within the environment through the observations of the guides, and then learning and understanding the mastery of where they are in that particular concept. And that can be through a conversation with the student. It could be with a student giving that lesson back to another student. What better way to learn and know a student really understands that information, but to give that lesson back to someone else. And so they are consistently observing and assessing along the way. And that happens, as I mentioned, very often, because rather than in that traditional setting where you are have maybe over a 6-week period, you have a unit study and then a test at the end to see how much knowledge they've gained. They're being assessed on that throughout to really make sure that there is a good concrete understanding all along the way, so that at the end there is mastery towards that particular concept. Beginning in elementary, we also begin that practical life skill of taking a test. So there is a little bit of that scaffolding there to make sure that as students are leaving our program in 8th grade, that there is some understanding of how do we take that test. We do a test called MAP, which is Measuring Academic Progress Testing. This is done 3 times during the year, once in the beginning, once at the middle, and then once again at the end. And it really helps us to see the progress and growth over time. So a student that starts with us, let's say back in toddler, but we're not starting that testing until elementary, as they go all the way through middle school, we can really see over time that progress and growth in the student. And the test also helps the guide on the back end be able to look and see if there are certain holes or gaps in the learning, so they can go back in with further direction and lessons to support the student's learning. As we go into communication, I always like for families to know that their guide is always accessible, either through direct email or being able to call the front office and request a time to speak with the guide. And the guides are fantastic in getting back with you because they want to make sure that they're making that connection with you. And if you have questions, they really want to make sure they're answering those for you. At our toddler and primary age levels, we utilize an app called Story Park. And this is a way for the guides to be able to share on a weekly basis a photo or a video with a little note about what's going on in the classroom. Again, another way for you to be able to connect as a parent and have better conversations with your child about what's going on in the classroom and different things that they're working on. At the elementary and middle school ages, the guides stay in touch regularly by email. There's also another email that we send out as a school where where families will be receiving an email in your inbox to tell you a little bit more about what's going on in that week. That could be volunteer signups, calendar events that are coming up. That way you have all the information you need moving forward. As we jump on into the different age levels, I'm going to start off first with toddler. Toddler is, as a refresh there, that 18 months to 3 years. And at this age, that child is really on a journey into independence, really learning through that prepared environment, how to explore the environment and how to become more independent within what they're learning. They are grasping knowledge so very quickly and so effortlessly, and they're sensorial explorers at this age. Some activities that the child is participating in the community is with different materials on the shelf. So there's some fine motor skill development, there's gross motor skill development at this age, and the activities are rotated regularly based off of the needs of the students in the classroom. They begin to learn how to clarify and classify different experiences within this age level. There are a lot of different social interactions, such as outside play, snack or lunchtime, where they're really beginning to develop that vocabulary and that enrichment of vocabulary, not only being able to converse with one another, but then also being able to learn new language and vocabulary through music and conversation, through stories that they hear. Again, at snack time, at lunchtime, at circle time, all of these are really fantastic ways for the children to be able to boost that vocabulary and the ability to learn how to interact with others around them. There's also building of independence and building that concentration and that focus through the different purposeful activities that are in the classroom. A good example of one of those would be washing a window. As a parent or as an adult, we may say that we're only going to wash that window because there's fingerprints on it. But the child at this age wants to imitate what they see. They may have seen an adult washing a window at some point in time and want to experience that. But all of those executive functioning skills that are being supported throughout that lesson of how to focus and concentrate, how to problem solve. If I ended up having a spill or I sprayed too much on the window, how do I work through that problem? And so that is how the Montessori environment and philosophy is really bringing in that ability to focus, concentrate, problem solve, and develop that independence. but also being able to give back to the other students in the classroom. So as you start out as that younger one in the classroom who is learning how to put their shoes on, as you become that older child in the classroom, you may see them giving back to the other students in the classroom by helping the other student put their shoes on. So ultimately learning how to care for themselves, care for other people around them is something that is really fostered at the toddler age. And as they begin to develop more and are ready for bigger work, for longer work cycles and more challenging materials, they move on into our primary program. In primary, ages 3 to 6, there's a continued state of absorbing information at a very fast pace. But there's a little bit of shift that takes place at this age where they take a little bit more pride in their work, and it's more intentional and conscious at this point in time. The development of concentration with those activities becomes longer and longer, and they begin to develop socially with others around them, not necessarily just working parallel with the other children in the classroom, but they're beginning to understand and see that there's other people outside of themselves and develop that social skill set and understand that other people think differently than I do, and that's okay too. The presentations at this age are done also through those concrete materials. That could be a puzzle map, it could be knobless cylinders. There's a wide variety of things where we start with that very concrete understanding, and then we move to more and more abstract understanding within the program. So while a student may start at the younger ages with those sandpaper letters, they're moving on into learning how to put those letters together to form words, or learning how to read ultimately, and then sentence building, and then understanding grammar after that. So that the multi-age grouping in the classroom is supported through the materials as well. Most of the work at this age is individual, but you will also see some small group lessons given as well. Again, that independence is really supported at this age level through learning how to solve those problems, learning how to be confident in what we're learning. How can we give back and be a leader in the program or within the classroom itself? Developing that concentration through work becoming progressively more challenging. How do we coordinate ourselves? As you see here, the cylinders being built in a tower format. How can we do something like that and really develop that fine motor skill, and then being able to later on move to that very finite skill of being able to pick up that puzzle piece map and put it just so that it's back where it needs to be. Also learning order through the entire set of sequencing of materials in the classrooms, learning how to sequence and organize to support the child as they become more and more inclined to that language and math area, learning that things have to go from left to right, top to bottom. And so that order and sequencing in some of those earlier lessons really support them in getting them to that point. As the child moves into their third year, the child's experience in that classroom community is the end of a developmental stage in Montessori, and it's considered that year of leadership. And at that primary level, this aligns with what would be considered a kindergarten year at that more traditional setting. PLC, which is known as Primary Leaders Club here at Starwood Academy, is a network of all of the students who are in that PLC year across all of our primary classrooms. This is a networking that allows students to begin building relationships outside of the classroom community so that they can prepare for that integration into the elementary program, where they can begin to show and practice some of those leadership skills that they have been learning all along the way. So there are regular activities throughout the month that really help to support this collaboration and the ability to for the child to have that strong transition as they go on into lower elementary. In lower elementary, we have groups of children broken into two different groups. Lower elementary is ages 6 to 9, and upper elementary is ages 9 to 12. The students at this age, they're really exploring more outside of themselves, and they are learning how to research. They're learning more how to collaborate with one another. It's a new developmental stage where they have a little bit more of that reasoning mind, a new hunger and thirst for knowledge. They have a greater sense of the wider world, again, outside of themselves. And now we have a classroom community of people that we're with. They love to collaborate with one another. They become very social beings at this age, and oftentimes will think more of what their peers say than even what the adults in the environment or us as parents may say as well. But also there's a heightened sense for right or wrong. So there's typically this sense of a police officer, let's say, in the classroom, where they're able to very well let the other person know that they are in line or out of line. And sometimes they're not quite able to apply that to themselves yet. But as they continue to grow and mature, they understand what that looks like in applying and taking responsibility for some of those things on their own as well. But beginning in that lower elementary classroom and all the way up through middle school, they begin to more formally plan their day. They have a full 3-hour work cycle that really allows them to go much deeper into the work. The work cycle really helps to support students in being able to repeat or practice concepts that may need some attention. And I think about that a little bit as the adult, as we get into having a project that we need to complete. It takes a period of time to really be able to begin getting into the work mindset, to do some research, to really record some of that information, and then pull yourself out of that a little bit as well. And so that work cycle works the same way with students as well. They're able to really get into a very deep learning, and as they move out of it, have a sense of accomplishment and that I know a lot more now than I did when I started. At this age level, students will participate individually in their work. There will be some small group lessons, but you're also going to begin seeing some whole group lessons as well. In lower elementary, as we did with the younger ages, we always start with those concrete materials. We really want students to be able to understand at a very concrete level what they're doing and the concept that they're learning before they begin moving into more abstract concepts or learning, such as that pencil and paper work. Leadership is also fostered at both the lower elementary and upper elementary with that capstone year and that rite of passage as they go through that final year of their 3-year cycle. Some things that we do at the elementary ages, we begin technology. I mentioned the map testing, and so that is done over technology. We utilize Chromebooks in the classroom for students to begin learning how to use Google education apps such as Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and they begin utilizing those as a way to research and public speak. They learn how to cast their presentation and have that public speaking opportunity and experience beginning at these younger ages. As the students move on into upper elementary, they begin typing work as well. We also have a program in upper elementary that starts in upper elementary called Classroom Harmony. And this is part of our character development lesson that we bring in a specialized individual that can really provide safe and healthy lessons in a safe environment for students to explore topics and discuss sensitive topics as well. Also, as in the 6th year, which is our upper elementary, we have a microeconomy called StarMart, which really provides leadership opportunities for them to begin at a very small scale learning how the economy works in the adult world. As we move on into middle school is ages 12 to 15. And the students at this age really begin to search for who they are and where they belong in the greater sense of the world. So now not so much inward of ourself or even in our school community, but out in the world. Where do I belong? What should I be doing? There's a lot of what ifs. They become very sensitive to social justice and personal dignity. They become collaborators and they hear other people and begin to learn and understand what that respect means and the value of teamwork. The materials at the middle school level are also available to the students. We start again in that concrete sense, but you will see much more abstract work taking place at this age level, where students are able to really put together not only the work, but understand and visualize the ideas in a much more abstract way. That way, the focus then can be on the development of a successful process and innovative approach. Leadership at this age has them going much more outward into the community. So you see some pictures here of some field trips that the students take, or some community service that is taking place. So one of the unique field trips that the 7th and 8th year students will attend is MMUN, which is Montessori Model United Nations. And this is where they get to travel to New York and begin to learn about the operations of the United Nations and its role as a peacekeeping and humanitarian organization. As far as community service, they're going out into the community through working on a food drive and how to go and give back to the community, adopt a street, and how to keep things clean in that sense. And so it really helps them learn how to become active citizens and fully informed individuals in our society. Also, I had already mentioned technology and how we utilize typing in the Google Education for apps. And typing continues on in through middle school. There's also other public speaking opportunities that come about at this age, not only in presentations through the classroom with their peers, but also in the outer community through student council or facilitating assemblies for the school community. Student council is very active at this age. We have elected individuals each year that can really help to drive our school community in learning how they can raise money for charities and learning how to vote and how to take other people's comments into consideration. The 8th year students also participate in an internship where they will choose a field of study and they'll go out into our community and spend some time to learn and understand on a day-to-day basis how that career looks and what that involves as they are exploring options moving forward. There's also a microeconomy at the middle school level, the creamery, and students really began gaining that real world understanding of business. They learn how to do accounting, how to collaborate, and how to communicate with others around them. In Montessori, we know that children learn from doing and that education should involve real life materials and experiences and encourage experimentation and independent thinking. Learning must not only be hands-on, but must be minds-on as well. And as students graduate from our program, they're strong not only in their academics, but they're confident, they're well-rounded, and they're prepared for life.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Again, our objective is to give you today a high-level overview of the program, but really delve into each level to show you what that looks like based on the age of the student. It is a very different approach. We are a Montessori program, and we adhere to the standards of the American Montessori Society. We're also a values-driven community. And when I say values-driven, what I mean is that typically families that are seeking a Montessori program are seeking an alternative for their student. They realize education is not a one-size-fits-all, and they're seeking that individualized, personalized approach that Montessori provides. I think you can tell from Ms. Walker and I that we're very passionate about Montessori, and you'll find that of all of our team members and our guides here in the program. Everyone is educated, they're experienced, they're passionate about the philosophy, the approach, and about the students and the families that they partner with. And again, our graduates definitely set the program apart. They are empowered, they're innovative, they're joyful, they're advocates for what they truly believe in and what they stand for. And that really is a true testament to the program. We're going to switch gears here just a little bit and talk to you about the admissions process and next steps moving forward.
So you've taken that first step to learn what makes Starwood an authentic Montessori experience where students make education their own. There are also other resources on our website that you can peruse at your own pace. You can select our blog where there are parent testimonials, and you can even hear from some of our graduates. The best way to experience Starwood Academy of Frisco is to see our vibrant community in action. This can be done by signing up online for a campus event. At that time, you'll have the chance to see the classrooms and meet the administrative team. We are we are active also on social media, and it's a great way to see what life is like at Starwood. So if you haven't already, start following us on Instagram or Facebook. Once you have attended an event, the next step is to complete an application. So I'd like to go into a little bit of our admissions timeline. We have from September through February, where you would complete an application. To be eligible for our priority enrollment in January, all items must be submitted by December 8th. On January 16th is when you would receive notification by email if you have been accepted into the upcoming school year. We go through a late admissions round as well, starting February 19th. Everything would be due in the application, and then you would be notified by February 26th for enrollment for the upcoming school year. After that piece, we do have rolling enrollment. At that time, we will just continue to have that rolling enrollment. If there are any spaces left, then you would be notified at that time. We're here to support you through the process, and know that you can reach out at any time for further questions.
Thank you so much for your time today, for listening to our presentation. And we look forward to connecting with you and your family soon.